Hello guys, welcome to our special bonus episode of Biz Focus. I'm your hostess today, Zhu Zhu. In this episode, we will dive into the growing trend of special tourism trains in China. These unique journeys not only bring unforgettable experiences to passengers, but also stimulate local economies and drive innovation in various sectors. Today, we are very happy to be joined by our reporters Olivia He and Lincoln Humphries. Olivia, could you guys briefly introduce yourselves and what train were you on?
Okay, hello Zhu Zhu, hello audience, I'm Olivia from CGTN Global Biz. So my train, I think it was called the Flower Express train. I give it a name, not sure if it's actually this name. And it's not really to do with flowers. I mean, it's not like decorated with flowers inside. So the name actually comes from its roots. It takes passengers to a city famous for flowers, and that's it.
Well, I suppose contrastingly similar sort of green vibe. It's the Veggie Express, we named it, but it was more than just vegetables. There's fruits on there as well. There was some fish, live fish as well, and pork, some smoked cured pork. So all manner of treats, farm produce mostly, I suppose. We could call it the Farm Express, getting stuff to market. It was the 7272 from Jinhe County in Hunan, through the mountains, weaved through on a daily return service to Tongren in Guizhou province. About 2 hours was the trip through there, but comparatively for the locals there, the same trip would be about 6 hours by coach. So huge advancement there in terms of the efficiency.
So those are specifically designed for those older people, seniors, and there are 400 seniors on the train. So we took 24 hours train from Jinan in Shandong province to Sichuan province. And normally, if you just take the high-speed train, it would just take like about 7 to 12 hours. But they just took a very slow train and then to enjoy those immersive experiences, taking classes on the train, etc. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. And what was the most memorable part of your guys' trip on the train?
Well, I had to be honest, because my most memorable part didn't actually happen on the train because it was way too short. So, but once we got off, I just felt like everything was well organized, well planned. For example, there were different buses at the station, each heading to different like flower viewing route spot. And for example, Zhu Zhu, if you want to see cherry blossoms, and Lincoln, if you want to see, let's say, pear blossoms, you hop on the bus.
Do you pick the flowers?
Yeah, you can definitely.
Oh,
You can actually choose the route, so it's just really convenient. And transportation is like it's got soft. And what's really surprising, I think, is half of the tourists were dressed in traditional Hanfu. Not sure if you know about traditional Hanfu.
Yeah, that's very beautiful and pretty.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine like everyone in their traditional Hanfu. Yeah, I did. And taking pictures among the flowers. So yeah, I think that was quite impressive.
Yeah, like going back to the ancient times kind of.
Yeah. It's like kind of traveled to the past.
Nice. I think memorable moments, memorable flavors. I mean, it's a farm produce train, and you guys will be able to remind me of the Chinese name for it, but the fish mint.
Yeah, Yu Xing Cao. Yeah, many people are not used to that flavor, actually.
It's a very unique and intense flavor, fish mint, because it does taste quite fishy. I mean, we're in Hunan province, a long way from the ocean. There are some river fish incorporated into the local cuisine there, but the fish mint was a very unique flavor. I'm not sure I've ever had anything quite like it.
Yeah, did you enjoy the flavor?
By itself, raw. I mean, you can't argue with how fresh it was. It was a very potent flavor, and it was unique and interesting and noticeable. The leaves, the sort of purpley dark green, were very bitter. Didn't enjoy that so much, but the stems are white, thin, very crunchy. The texture's nice. There's a little ginger note to it as well, but the fishiness that comes through is... I can't say it's my favorite flavor.
So is it your first time trying that?
Yeah, it is. And I've had it since incorporated into more of a cold salad where it was chopped up into with some chilies and some vinegar and lotus root and other things into a cold little crunchy salad. That was nice. When you incorporate that bold flavor into some other more mild, ameliorating flavor factors, that's an enjoyable meal overall. But by itself, yeah, quite intense. But I enjoyed intense flavors. The other thing that was really memorable, I think, was obviously the people. We do these stories, they're human interest stories at the end of the day, as well as having some economic factors and tourism elements to it as well. But a lot of the people who were carrying their produce onto the train, off the train to market, I had a chance to use their carrying poles with the full baskets of produce on either end, some weighing more than 50, 60, probably almost up to 70 kilos. Some of them said, I don't know how accurate that was, whether they're just putting a little bit of exaggeration on the story. But some of the aunties and uncles carrying these packs would be half my weight, carrying twice what I could manage. It was very, very impressive. Their strength to weight ratio, huge.
Yeah, what was their average age?
Average would probably put it in late 50s to early 60s, perhaps. There were some people there in their 80s, still carrying a very heavy load. Most people probably in the 50s to 60s, plenty in their 70s. Yeah, very impressive to see how strong and healthy.
Yes,
and
true.
active these people still are. I put it down to the good produce and an active lifestyle. That's what it's all about.
Maybe that's because they always enjoy those very fresh vegetables, right?
It certainly can't hurt. I felt good for it on a good diet.
Yes, true. And also, I came along with many seniors on the train too. And one guy really impressed me because he really enjoyed some unique hobbies like carving things. Yes, like he can take pictures and also carve those pictures on the eggshells. And that's pretty delicate work. And then because he likes to socialize with other people, so he even posted that on Chinese TikTok, Douyin, and he got many followers, and he's already 70 years old. So I really admired his spirits and also being very youthful in his heart, and also like enjoy all kinds of different activities and still enjoy those. Many Gen Z may enjoy the social media stuff, etc. So they are just being very energetic.
It's on track.
Yes.
Following the trends.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And many of us are on the green slow trains, right? How would you compare these experiences with other like more traditional forms of travel, like high-speed trains?
Well, I suppose comparing it to trains back home in Australia, I don't know exactly how fast the train services go back in Oz, but it's such a big country with our city centres a long way apart. I mean, it's a very spacious, large country, so air travel is much more common. Train travel for, say, tourists or for passenger train is not super common. Obviously, there's metros and trams into subway services in the cities, but intercity travel is not as common. But I think to call them slow trains here, they just seem like a normal train. But the fast trains here are impressive. I think the price point difference between what we were traveling, not so much of a distance, but obviously taking more time between Jinhe County and Guizhou's Tongren City. When we took the train from Changsha, where we flew into, in Hunan, to get to Jinhe County or nearby, that fast train cost, I think, 184 yuan to go, what was a couple of hours. And then for a couple of hours trip, albeit going not the same distance because we're going much slower, the ticket for the slow train was 7 kuai. So the price point difference, and that was definitely noticeable. But when the sights and the scenery is so nice in that part of the world, I think that the fast trains are excellent here. We've been able to get to Shanghai from Beijing in just over 4 hours. It's 1,000 kilometers. That's astounding. And the pace and scale of the development of the fast trains across China is a story that's been told for years and decades now. And it is impressive and worth telling. But it's nice to go slow to soak up that scenery. I've been on the fast trains and gone to Xi'an. I'd traveled to Shanghai and done other things. And the scenery goes past,
Too fast, right?
You don't really get a chance to appreciate it. It's efficient, but this is a tourism element I think is really nice when it goes a bit slower. You can appreciate the vibe.
Yeah, and what did you guys do on the trains? Are there any activities that we can?
Yeah, once we got to market and made some cash and had the daily earnings secured, on the way back, it was a very vibrant social atmosphere. Played some cards with some of the locals.
Oh, wow. Can you play Chinese cards?
I know the Peasants versus Landlords game. That I've learned how to play and have won a couple of rounds of that, which I was very, very happy with, considering I only just learnt it the day that I won a few games. And I've played it online on the flights as well, have it on the internal entertainment system on some of the flights. This game we were playing, I didn't know what it was called. I couldn't figure out the rules, so I kept losing. But I could appreciate the value of winning some new friends. And that's what it's all about.
I was actually wondering if Lincoln made some friends because he's famous for being like social network.
Yeah, have you really with those people? What are some stories?
Yeah, well, talking to them about their farms and what they grow and how that train has changed and I suppose improved their lives, getting them access to a bigger, more valuable and more diverse market in a bigger city. obviously the economic gains were obvious, but in terms of social capital, there were big gains as well. Can see people getting out and getting very active and having a social time on the train. The value of that really can't be overstated.
And Olivia, for your flower blossom tray, yeah,
But I'll call it Flower Express Tray.
express tray.
Yeah.
Okay. How did it drive the local tourism and also cultural development?
Okay, this is quite interesting because when I first arrived at flower spots, in the first place, I thought it would just be about, taking photos, seeing flowers. But what's surprising is handful rentals, local snack stores were literally everywhere. And seriously, if you get hungry, I think it's easier for you to get a handful instead of a burger. And just, you can imagine the entire business was really set up. So that's part of the cultural part. And also besides beyond flowers, beyond those businesses, events were really organized, well planned. You can go to a history museum. There are tour guides, teaching you everything, explaining what is this, what is that. And you can try handful, calligraphy. There are calligraphy workshops as well. So yeah, it's things like that that really add up to the Xi'an's history part, I feel like.
And how much does it cost to rent the handful per time?
I think it's 150 yuan for me. I paid it myself. It's not that bad. It's pretty good. And just in case you didn't know, Lincoln, Xi'an is a really famous historical city. So wearing handful, taking photos seem to be a must
Fit into the
thing.
vibe.
Yeah, for most tourists.
Yeah, I managed to go with my parents a few months ago and see the terracotta warriors and walk around on the old wall. And yeah, a lot of people, probably more people wearing hanfu, wearing modern clothes. It was good to see.
And it's not weird to see people wearing hanfu. I mean, it's not weird to see that in most cities, but it's more common to see that in Xi'an.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of paying something to try new activities, are there any new trends of spending habits that you observed, among the travelers?
I mean, buying food is...
Buying food.
Buying food, yeah.
It's like buying food.
Yeah, it's mostly around the food. I think.
And what about for those farmers?
In terms of their consumption trends, I suppose the extra income allows them to reinvest in their farms and even in the transport materials. I mean, the train is a huge help getting it from the station to the market, but you still need to get it to the station. Extra incomes mean they can improve their own transport in the tuk-tuks or in trucks and things like that. So definitely seeing newer materials, newer logistical equipment and newer farm equipment. I think that's the flow-on effects of boosting the economy in terms of getting them to a bigger, better market. That rural revitalization, increasing local economies, that flows on and the money goes further and further than what you may think than just the purchase of the food.
On my train, most travelers are younger people relatively, so they tend to spend things on handful rentals, paying someone to take your photos, buying cute souvenirs, local snacks, and that's basically where my money went. So yeah.
Yeah, and in the contrast, because my trip is all seniors, yeah, so they don't really care about those senior souvenirs and kind of stuff. But what I found very interesting is that they focus more on their mental fulfillment. They said the best part of the trip is being able to learn while traveling.
But do they get to spend?
Yeah,
you don't need to spend to learn.
They actually, because they spend the fee to buy the tickets for taking classes and also the whole journey. And they said that taking AI classes and traditional Chinese medicine, all these kind of stuff really satisfy them. And also they care more about social spending because many of them told me that when they were at home, maybe their children were not around, so they felt lonely. So they are paying fees to enter those senior universities back in their hometowns. And also this trip too, paying the money to engage with more people, to socialize with other people. And they said these activities really satisfy them. Though maybe outside the trains, they don't really spend that much. Yeah.
I think I would want to pay that for my grandparents too.
You should try it.
Experiential tourism, people spending more on experiences, definitely in the older generations. But I can see younger people. I mean, whilst it is paying for a service and paying for something physical to wear the hanfu, you're paying for an experience.
Yes, you mentioned a very good point to experience, because they just care more about the quality and the experiences itself. Like I mentioned, if you take a very fast high-speed train, it may just being very super fast to get one place to another.
I suppose sometimes you're investing in the convenience. You know, oftentimes if things cost more, you're paying for the convenience, paying for the efficiency. But in this case, I suppose it's you're saving money, but paying for the experience.
Yes. Maybe it's also because we don't have that many day offs to really get a slow train. Right? Yeah, many of them mentioned that point. That's quite interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you guys see those specialized trains impacting local economies? I think for links.
Yeah, I'll bring the numbers up. I think that speaks for themselves. In 2024, so last year alone, they sold 4.74 million jin. It's a Chinese measure in half a kilo. So it's roughly 2,370 tons of produce in a year. And that brought in just shy of 12 million yuan. So 1.7 million US in 1 year. And that, of course, is the physical market, the e-commerce, connecting with wholesalers.
So I talked to several out-of-town travelers, and they told me that before the operation of this high-speed train, they barely came to the city. Because could you imagine if you had to drive 2 hours, 3 hours, or change a few buses just to see the flowers? But now with this train, they're oh, we come every weekend. So in this case, as more tourists come and the local tourism operators, they had to develop more events, more businesses and everything. And in this case, it really creates more jobs and opportunities for local residents. So it's kind of a win-win situation and to boost the local economy as well.
Yes, that's really a win-win. And also for agricultural products, I think beyond agricultural products, maybe they can sell more stuff on the trains, right?
I think there's opportunities for, instead of just raw primary produce, selling fresh produce, which is great. It is very fresh and it's excellent, high quality. But I think there's an opportunity there to make meals or make some, second stage food products from the primary produce and sell that on the train or sell that at market. Yeah, the fresh produce is popular and necessary and people are going to buy it. But I think there's an opportunity there for making some extra meals or treats from that fresh produce to sell on there as well. And also on experiential tourism. I managed to do 2 trips back to back. So we went on this trip a couple of weeks ago and then came back to Beijing for 1 day of work and then went off to Hainan for the Hainan Expo last week. But they also had the local ethnic group were on there doing a musical performance.
Wow, on the bus?
On the bus, yeah, as it's cruising around and checking out.
That's pretty cool.
So it's a tour guide service, it's a musical experience, it's a food and drink experience. There's souvenirs and trinkets you can buy on the bus. I think how that advanced sort of experiential and commercial and material tourism could be adapted to the train in Hunan and Guizhou. I think having trinkets and souvenirs to buy as well can value add, having not just fresh produce, but meals and drinks and teas made from the produce, and perhaps having a musical experience on there as well. They moved and redecorated things in the train to get rid of some seats, so there's space for the produce so people can be more comfortable and not having to stack all their fruit and veg baskets all over the place. But if you can remove chairs to get in the produce, you can make a space for a stage like they did on a bus, which was much smaller than the train carriage, to perhaps have a musical experience there as well. I think that's something that they could look at and adapt and really improve on. I mean, we're doing the live stream at one end of a carriage that had been adapted to have a live stream going on. That very much could have been adapted to have a musical performance where the live stream was happening. I mean, you could blend both. You could have a musical performance on the live stream. I think there's definitely room for expansion and creative ideas there.
Yeah, and with that, we wraps up today's bonus episode of BizFocus. It's clear that these special trains are not just about travel. They're also about creating experiences, connecting people, and driving new economic opportunities. Thank you guys for joining us today, and also thanks our audience for joining us. And feel free to leave us any comments on what you'd like us to show or to share in our next episode.
Yes, comment down below.
Yeah, leave us a comment. Bye.
Bye, everyone.